Ladies and gentlemen, Sundial growers might be in trouble, and in this video, I'm going to basically explain what I mean by that. But don't worry, while what I talk about may not be the best news for the stock, at the end of the video, I do have some good news about the stock, so be sure to stick around. The specific issue that I'm referring to about Sundial being in trouble is the fact that it doesn't really have any institutional investors. As of the first quarter of this year, the smart money, as Wall Street calls it, owns only about 3% of Sundial's stock. Now, whether or not institutional ownership is a good thing for the stock depends on a couple of factors. But what's not in question is that when stocks have low institutional investors, the stock is just going to be more risky. And with the company being in the extremely crowded and competitive cannabis sector, that is also, unfortunately, another strike against it. Whenever a stock pops, like we saw on Sundial, like we saw on GameStop and AMC and Naked Brands and all of these other Reddit so-claimed stocks, having them go up like that is not really the hard part. The hard part is keeping them there. And what keeps them there is unfortunately not retail investors like you and I. What keeps them there is the smart money, also known as the institutional investments. The big money, if you will. And that is what Sundial is going to need to have come into the stock in order for it to survive. And when I say survive, I mean like survive the current levels and not drop back down to its pre-pop levels. On a year-over-year basis, Sundial's revenue is actually down 5%. But bullish investors would say that we're looking at that in a glass half empty. Because they'll quickly point out that we have momentum on our side in the fact that the revenue increased 8% from its previous quarter. But even Sundial's CEO said that they have work to do in order to increase its revenue. The Canadian company has said it's been making efforts to focus on its brand portfolio, which includes getting into high-end products such as vapes. But it faces a lot of competition in its home country of Canada, as they are not even close to the biggest player. Sure, market cap, maybe, but in terms of like actual company and revenue, no. So the obvious solution to some might be them looking south of the border, which would be the United States. However, that is going to be easier said than done. Since the election, as we all know, the cannabis sector has been on a rebound. However, as the days continue to go on, it feels like the legal federalization of cannabis is now becoming more of a coin flip on if it's going to happen anytime in the near future. Back in November, on election night of 2020, 5 states voted to legalize marijuana in one form or another. And you'd have to think that more states will be on the way. And the reason is as old as time as to why they did that. They need the money. Cannabis, along with sports betting, are probably considered easy wins in terms of how the states can make money. But in order for Sundial to have a meaningful recovery that sparks interest from institutional investors, it needs to have a plan for generating revenue in the United States. And at the moment, it doesn't look like they have any plan in particular that is a surefire way to get big money on board. However, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, there is actually a little bit of good news. This isn't just a completely bad video about Sundial. I made a video maybe about a week ago talking about the short interest update on Sundial Growers and how it had increased 69% from its last reporting period. Well, the most recent reporting period has just came out. For those of you that don't know, the reporting periods are in about a 2-week span. Since the last time that they reported, short interest actually decreased 8%. Now, that doesn't mean short interest as a whole. I'm just saying short interest in those 2-week period decreased 8%. At the moment, Sundial still has around a 10% short interest on the stock as a whole. But if there's any bit of glimmer and hope, is that we can take away that short interest decreased from the previous 2 weeks. Let me know your thoughts on the lack of the institutional investors in Sundial. Do you think that they will ever get them? And as always, I will see you guys next video.